I was sitting in my office on a cool fall morning. It was a slow day at the Omelas detective agency, so there I sat reading my newspaper for what seemed like hours, until she arrived. She told me there had been a report of a person being unhappy in our city. This was an odd report because everyone in our city was always happy. I had to go confirm this was true myself. As I walked down the street, I began to remember stories I had been told as a child about why our city was always so happy. One story in particular stuck out. It was told that all of our citizens were always happy, with no sadness or anger, because those emotions were reserved for one person, the Aquila, the person who was chosen at birth to suffer for the rest of us. Up until now, I had always thought of that story to be a tall tale, told to children. However, it seems like that story may hold some truth now. As I arrived at the house, I heard crying, and as I opened up the door, I realized what condition this person had been living in. The house was barely standing, and roots of some type of vegetation were starting to consume the walls. When I reached the top of the stairs, I discovered that the story from my childhood was in fact true. I stood motionless, as I was faced with the hardest decision of my life. I ended up remembering something that could help me with this decision. I ended up remembering something I could do to help me decide on what I should do. I remembered learning about a man named Manuel Velasquez in school. Manuel Velasquez defined different ways I could go about solving dilemmas such as this one. Two approaches seemed to be the best fit for this situation, both good and bad. The first was the utilitarian approach, which stated that I should act to uphold the greater good, and the other is the rights approach, which tells me that every person has the same rights to life and happiness as anyone else. So I ended up weighing my options. Should I leave and act as though this person never existed, and allow this person to suffer for their entire life, just so the rest of the city can live happy with no hatred towards one another? There would never be a murder or a fight. There would never be war in our city. Or should I take this person out of this hellhole and give them the rights they never had? How could I tell if they would be able to adapt to the outside world? And how would the outside world change after I did this? Would it collapse in just a day? Or would it not collapse at all? The risk far outweighed the reward in this situation. I hated the choice I made back then, but I would rather one person hate me than an entire city. I had chosen to act for the greater good. I left the attic and walked back to my office to pack up my things. I couldn't stand knowing our city's dark secret, and so I left, vowing never to return. And thus I became the one who walked away from Omelas.